All right, so my name is Troy Pierce. Where are we? We are in a cafe in Berlin. And background about me. I grew up in Indiana. How deep of background you want?
I guess I can deep.
Okay. Not that deep. I've been in Berlin for 6.5 years, I guess, and moved here from New York
Yep.
and focusing on making and playing dance music. At that time, New York is this is like 6 years ago plus. I lived in New York for 10 years, so New York is a difficult, and the States in general, I think also, it's tough to make dance music and make that your profession in the States. So not only is it tough to like make a record and make a name and hit a thing, but it's not so conducive to the lifestyle
Yep.
in the same way that it is in Europe and more specifically in Berlin. So I was doing stuff, but on a very small scale. Right now, I play, when I DJ, it's usually all digital with 2 laptops, one with Tractor, the other one with Ableton Sync to Tractor, and I use Machina and some other plugins in Ableton. I don't really play a lot of, I use Ableton as effects processor and to play things live, whether it's drums or bass lines or whatever that I play with Machina. Nothing that I play using Ableton is pre-recorded at all.
Okay.
I'll do random programming of Machina to come up with synth lines or percussion things or stuff like that to add to the other stuff that I'm playing with Tractor. I've been playing with Tractor since probably 2001, I guess, for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I switched over. In the beginning, I always had records with me because in the beginning, the version of Final Scratch was not so stable. But from the beginning, I thought it was a really cool concept. I was never really such a vinyl purist person.
Yeah.
To me, it's the end result is what's important. The music that you play, not how you play. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
That's how I looked at it. So it was cool to me that I could have thousands of records to choose from instead of just 50, and I didn't have to carry anything. That was my angle. In the beginning, it was more or less the same thing.
Yeah.
I think. Now it's different. It's definitely the way I look at playing tracks now is different than if I had to play them as a vinyl. A lot of them maybe I wouldn't play because I only play the first minute of it or something. You know, the approach is definitely different now.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was the same to me. It was still just 2 sources of music manually mixed between each other on the same kind of mixer. It was the same thing. I feel like I'm looking at it more like a live act, and I'm coming from a place of Ableton-based loops and putting things together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. I'm just.
It's different.
It's different for sure.
Kind of like the hot cue.
Yeah. Which I don't. It doesn't sound cool to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be really fun for the person doing it, but I don't think that it's so fun for everyone that's listening to it.
Yeah.
There's at least what this person was doing. There was no groove to it. There was no. It was just bullshit. Like, you know, it was just noise. I don't really use the Tractor, the stuff like that. Like I don't really. It was funny for like a week.
Yeah.
But I use some of their effects, but in a subtle way that hopefully adds to what's going on and doesn't become the only thing that's going on, you know?
Yeah.
In the beginning, I started I started working with? I think I started doing stuff with Reason in the very beginning. But I never would, one, I didn't have any other friends that were making music. So I didn't have like a peer group to go like, hey, how do I do this? So I could never figure it out, you know? So I would just end up making 2-minute loops in Reason that were maybe mildly interesting, but probably sound crappy, like if I listen to them now. And then when Ableton came out, that somehow made sense to me, that I could take the loops that I made in Reason and I could see how to construct them better into something that we could actually say is kind of a song, you know, where I couldn't figure that out in Reason. For whatever my level of understanding was, I just didn't get it. But Ableton clicked with me.
Yep.
And so that's how it started with Ableton. And in the beginning it was just all software. I had no gear of any kind. And again, I think that's because I didn't have any other friends at studios. I didn't really have I just had no knowledge. So I was kind of like figuring it out and making it up as I went along, which is fine. In the end, I think I started doing stuff with Ableton, and then I met Mark Hool and became friendly with him, and he showed me a lot of the stuff that now I know. He's the reason that I know. I know how to not have the claps louder than the kicks. The setup now is Ableton, but I run it all through it's called Venus Midas board. Okay. I don't know. They're like purple. I don't know if you've seen them. So I never render anything from Ableton. I just record back in through this mixer.
Okay.
And then I have a few hardware sequencers and older outboard effects like DP4 and Eventide things and other hardware drum machines and synthesizers and stuff. I like the way my studio is set up. Everything can kind of trigger everything else. So a simple routing in Ableton sends the MIDI from the machine drum to the 101. Like whatever, click, it's done. And I do a lot of stuff like that I have this Doppler sequencer, this MAQ deal. So I do a lot of weird stuff with that could be back to the machine drum, you know, like just strange things like that, and that it's kind of the randomness that I kind of find myself following. Yep. Like that's how most of the things I make. It's me shaping the randomness, but I'm not playing chords, you know, and like I don't really work like that. If I make work on a track in my laptop on a plane, take it in the studio, and when I separate everything out into the mixer, you can just hear you hear the space, and it's hard to describe what that difference is, but it's like it's definitely there. I think that if you don't hear it on your own initially, it'll be recognized later as the style or sound of the stuff that I do. You know, like certain people's tracks, some have more character than others, and this is just one step in the direction of its character, I think.
Yep.
It's the kind of the way I look at it, because like most people aren't gonna, if you A and B the tracks, you're not gonna hear it, but it's like, it's a difference to me, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I know that it's relevant, even if it's minute.
Yep.
You know. I have these bullfrog speakers.
Okay.
Do you know about mythical, whatever, magical bullfrog? I have those, and a kind of gigantic Genelec subwoofer. I had just the monitors for a while, and they're really, really, really nice. And I felt like there maybe is something that I'm missing, and I want to be able to hear what I'm missing was kind of my logic. If I'm gonna have these amazing speakers, I don't want to be missing out on the last whatever. Whatever it is, I want to be able to hear the whole thing. Because I think there were a couple of mixes that I played out that was like, there's this crazy sub bass coming from somewhere, and I'm like, I didn't hear that.
Yep.
So I thought, I need to be able to hear that. That was my logic. Sometimes I don't know if it was the best solution, but because it's a bit, because I find I'm getting used to it now. I'm getting over this urge, but it sounds so good. These speakers are really amazing. They sound so nice that you can be really subtle and still sound really good.
Yeah.
And then you take it out to play it and it sounds really thin and there's no thickness to it because it sounds so nice on the speaker. But so I find that if it's a little tough and abrasive in the studio, it sounds proper out. When I do it the proper way and follow my intuition, it sounds just like it sounds in a club in my place.
Gotcha.
So I always have to keep that in mind and be like, wow, is there any bass? No, there's not. And stick with it. I've changed things recently on the same remix. Like, the kick doesn't sound so good, and I went ahead and changed it, and it sounds great because I changed it. If I wouldn't, it sounded fine with this different kick, but I knew that it wouldn't be heavy enough. So.